Greetings, mortals, and welcome to the channel. I am an associate of the one you know as Chameleon X, and... wait, why do I sound like that? Hold on, let me check something.
It was the helmet. I am Bastion Corvus. Those of shallow vision would call me a necromancer. I was asked to introduce this video in return for an innocent little favor. Anyway, in this video we are going to cover a selection of Halloween-themed subclasses the Lizard made, which were voted on by you, his loyal viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into it. The first archetype that we're going to cover is the Fleshweaver. How delicious. It is an artificer who practices their craft not on steel and circuitry, but on blood and bone. In the vein of Dr. Frankenstein, this subclass is for those who seek to emulate the mad scientists of fantasy and science fiction, in addition to a thematic bonus to the medicine skill and the standard edition of bonus spells, in this case themed around transmutation and necromancy. The core feature of this subclass is infuse flesh. Mechanical minutiae aside, what this feature essentially does is allow you to imbue creatures with your Artificer infusions, turning their weak, frail bodies into useful vessels for your arcane power. Flavor these as you will, flesh grafts from beholders, dragons, demons, or other similar creatures. Steampunk prosthetics, grotesque surgeries, and the like. Arcanotech implants inserted with or without the consent of your subject. Let your imagination run wild. At higher levels, those creatures you've infused gain buffs for being in proximity to you. After all, a thrall is of no use to you if it's not at its master's heel. The final feature allows you to cast the Resurrection spell once per day, with a minor addition of being able to use it to restore function to the undead. You are a reanimator, if you will. Our next subject is the Cleric Domain of Madness. As a native of Tamriel, I am, of course, quite familiar with deities of this particular sphere. As is customary for divine domains, the Cleric of Madness gains a selection of spells linked to the portfolio of their deity. In addition, you also gain 2 further benefits at base level, which you will note can be the 1st or 3rd level, depending on which version of the cleric you are using. The first, Mad God's Ward, allows you to trade your sanity for the protection of your deity. While your mind is addled, no other influence can penetrate your god's hold on you. You can, of course, cure your affliction, but lose this protection. As indefinite madness is little more than a character flaw, I wouldn't bother. The second feature, Lunatic's Insight, allows you the chance to gain proficiency in a skill whenever you make a check. Or are you already proficient? Are you proficient now? Or is that just what they want you to think? I guess you'll just have to do your own research. Next, your Channel Divinity feature allows you to repel attempts to take control of your mind and turn the enchantment back at your attacker. At 6th level, you gain 2 features. One is Unstable Reality. It's quite wordy, but in essence, it allows you to alter your target's perception of reality, make them hallucinate in subtle ways, This feature is potentially very useful, but like any illusion, requires creativity and opportunity to utilize. As such, you also get Spark of Insanity at 6th level, which is far more straightforward. You can touch a creature and drive them temporarily insane. Not much to it, really. If, for whatever reason, you're still using the 2014 Cleric, you also get Blessed Strikes at 8th level. If you're using the 2024 update, you can ignore this feature, as it's already baked into the base class. The Capstone feature grants a number of benefits, the prime example being an aura that deals psychic damage to anyone inflicted with madness of any kind. Other than you, of course. It's situational, but considering you have multiple ways to inflict insanity on a target, it could be worse. The Circle of Bones is a druidic equivalent to the wizard's arcane tradition of necromancy, and sister archetype to the Circle of Spores. Like most druids, they gain a list of bonus spells that fit the theme, as well as 2 core features upon joining this circle. The first is bone armaments. If you're using the 5.5 druid, this feature is mostly a ribbon. It allows you to magically forge weapons and armor from the bones of your enemies, or to transform an existing magic item to replace metal and wood with bone. The obvious style benefits aside, this feature is a workaround for the 2014 druid's restriction on wearing metal armor, which doesn't rely on your dungeon master handing you a suit of half-plate made of dragon scales or some other non-metallic substance. No, as an aside, I would personally include chitin in the category of bone for those who want a more insectoid look, or just for a bit of extra flair. For the 2024 druid, the main benefits of this feature are that you can use an item you create with it as a spell-casting focus, and you can teleport the item to you as a bonus action. Effectively, you can don your armor in an instant, and you can use a weapon, shield, or even a suit of armor as a druidic focus, making it far easier to cast in melee without worrying about juggling components in free hands. The second is Skeletal Guardian. You can expend a use of Wild Shape to summon an undead animal companion. Your bony doggo has the combined mechanics of a familiar and a pet, using the now standard rules of the Battlesmith Artificer and Tosha's Beastmaster Ranger. You can speak to it telepathically, share its senses, cast spells through it, and also use a bonus action to command it in combat. In addition to its basic rend attack, it also has the Harrowing Howl reaction, which allows it to frighten attackers that don't target your putrescent pal. At 6th level, you gain 2 benefits: Balance of Death and Harvester of Life. The first benefits your spellcasting, the second, your weapon attacks. The latter feature includes a caveat that clarifies its interaction with the Elemental Fury feature from the 5.5 Druid. At 10th level, you gain Ancestral Ward. It provides immunity to several conditions commonly inflicted by the undead. The final feature lets you and your skeletal guardian assume a ghostly form, which grants several benefits common to incorporeal undead. The Death Knight is a dark reflection of the Rune Knight fighter, harnessing the power of necromantic runes to instill their weapon strikes with ancient dark magic. At 3rd level, you gain an Aura of Malice. This allows you to mark enemies in a radius around you and punish them for attacking creatures other than you. You also gain proficiency and expertise in Intimidation. Your other core feature is necromantic runes. Much like the Rune Knight, these provide passive benefits as well as special moves that you can activate, which recharge in a short rest. Many of these abilities have an area of effect which is tied to your aura of malice, giving this fighter some much-needed crowd control. At 7th level, you gain a variety of benefits that revolve around moving silently and ambushing your opponents. At 10th level, your aura and runes become more powerful. At 15th level, you can teleport and become invisible whenever you use Second Wind. The final feature is simple but powerful. You don't fall unconscious when you hit 0 hit points. You can continue to act normally, but you are still dying, including making death saves. Note, because of the wording in the rules for stabilizing a creature, your DM might rule that you can't be stabilized with a medicine check, since you aren't unconscious. As I understand, Chameleon X had some difficulty coming up with a concept for this archetype. He would like to thank his friend Vivian for her assistance in doing so. The Spectral Fist Monk allows a spirit to possess their body in order to draw strength from them. The feature you gain at 3rd level and 6th level depend on what the spirit you call forth was in life, with 3 options: Guardian, Hunter, and Sage. The second baseline feature is Life Drain, which adds some necrotic damage onto your unarmed strikes once per turn. If the target is alive, you also reduce their hit point maximum. If it reaches 0, they are dead. Though, perhaps, not for long. You see, at 11th level, you can reanimate a foe killed in this manner as a spectre. It obeys you for a day, after which is free to do as it wills. And considering it's the tormented spirit of someone you killed, what it wills is probably to return the favor. Just a heads up. You also gain a ribbon feature at 6th level, Spirit Communion. You can cast Augury and speak with dead once a day. At 11th level, you gain Ghostly Focus, which enhances your key abilities. Whenever you spend key or focus points, you take on some aspects of a ghost, terrorizing your foes, phasing through objects, and becoming partially incorporeal. Finally, the capstone of this subclass allows you to send forth the spirit that possesses you to seize control of someone else. You can cast the Dominate Monster spell once per day. Of course, since some of your powers come from the spirit being within you, you become weaker while the spell is in effect. Although, if you ask me, who needs raw power when you can turn the fools that oppose you into your obedient pets? The Shadow Dancer is modeled very closely on the Assassin class from 4th edition. It is meant to represent a killer who has replaced a shard of their soul with the essence of the Shadowfell. Using this wisp of darkness, you can call upon dark magic to cast spells chosen from a curated list. Apart from this, you gain the ability to teleport through shadows, deal extra damage against isolated foes, and gain some temporary hit points when you deal sneak attack damage to a frightened opponent. The archetype itself has no innate features that inflict fear, but your spell list contains several useful candidates. You also gain the ability to sense when your foes are drifting closer to death. Killer's Insight lets you make an insight check to intuit whether or not your prey is bloodied or is suffering from any of a list of debilitating conditions. Finally, Shade Form grants you the power to become a living shadow. You are incorporeal, insubstantial, and invisible while not in bright light. The subclass that received the most votes of all, this otherworldly patron sees you forging a pact with an ancient undead mummy lord, who grants you his corrupted divine power and the promise of immortality in exchange for your service. The Mummy Lord provides you with a list of spells that you always have prepared. It also allows you to curse your opponents with a wasting disease that slowly rots their flesh and prevents them from being healed. You also gain enchanted mummy's bandages that cover your body, effectively adding your charisma modifier to your armor class, giving you resistance to necrotic and poison. And also, you can mentally animate your wrappings to cause them to extend, lash, and ensnare enemies. At 6th level, you can react to damage by dissolving into sand or a swarm of scarabs, or the like, having the damage and allowing you to fly to safety. At 10th level, your patron begins the process of transforming you into a true mummy yourself. He harvests your organs and places them in an enchanted jar. As long as the jar remains intact, you have some measure of protection from the icy hand of death. And finally, at 14th level, you gain the ability to inflict paralyzing terror on your foes by meeting their gaze. The arcane tradition of witchcraft takes a bit of a turn near the end. You start with the fairly expected proficiency with an herbalism kit and proficiency in a knowledge skill, a bonus to checks to use an herbalism kit, and the most potent feature, Initiate of the Old Ways, allows you to learn druidic magic instead of wizard spells when you level up. A word to the wise. Due to the wording, this feature doesn't allow you to transcribe druid spells you find as treasure into your spell book. From scrolls, for instance, you can only choose druid spells when you level up, so you might want to prioritize learning those spells as you advance, and rely on other means to acquire wizard spells for your repertoire. At 6th level, you gain the ability to produce potions quickly and efficiently by expending spell slots during a long rest. The level of the spell slots you expend determines your budget, and you can then choose potions from the associated list to fill out your order. For balance reasons, the list only goes up to very rare potions. Legendary is simply beyond your capacity to create in this manner. At 10th level, things get a bit interesting. You got the Find Familiar spell for free back at 3rd level, and now you gain the ability to expend a spell slot to transform your familiar into a combat form. It gains a number of enhanced abilities that allow it to function as a pet in combat. At 14th level, your familiar is enhanced even further. It increases in size, gains resistance to a damage type, deals extra damage with its attacks. It also gains a trait of your choice, inspired by the elementals from the monster manual. Basically, your familiar becomes a Pokemon. Anyway, that's all from me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some matters to attend to. Hey everyone, I'm back. I just had a little work to do. A few errands, nothing major. Now, how did Bastion do? Huh? Why is all my stuff sticky and what's that smell? Anyway, thanks for watching. These are the subclasses the community voted on, so I hope you all enjoy them. As usual, a link to the full PDF will be in the description. If you have any questions, comments, or anything else, don't hesitate to leave them down below.
Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content. Until then, I've been Chameleon X reminding you... Oh crap, they're on me. That damn mine must have ratted me out. Look, if anybody asks, I wasn't here. Gotta go. Bye.